Hello and welcome to another episode of Drafting Notes, the sister podcast of Page One, the Writers Podcast. On that main podcast, Tarek and I like to talk to authors, screenwriters, any kind of writer really, and find out their process, find out how they got into the industry and everything. But on these Drafting Notes episodes, they're shorter form episodes where Tarek and I just take one topic that we've been thinking about related to writing and sort of explore it and see if we can offer any useful advice, or maybe offer advice that you can safely ignore. That's the other way to treat these episodes. But today I wanted to touch on something that is a big thing for all writers starting out, and I suppose some writers, at various points of their career. But the old finding an agent. In a previous episode of Drafting Notes, we have done the usual how to pitch your query letter and all of that sort of stuff. But it struck me that querying, while it's the most common method of finding an agent, certainly isn't the only way of finding an agent. And I thought we could maybe touch on that.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, as you say, the old-fashioned query submission process is by far the kind of biggest way of doing it, I think, and probably the standard way that everyone starts, and probably the way that most agents would prefer that they are contacted. I think that's an easy system. Or not prefer, that's perhaps too strong a word, but that's certainly the system that they've got up.
It's the standard system.
It's the standard system, and whilst it's fine, and I think we both highly recommend that everyone gets that process going, because it's a slow process, which is the downside. It's a slow process. You're often talking months to get response back, if you get response back at all. And the most infuriating thing I always found about the submission process is the differences that every agent has for submission. So it's some are wanting 3 chapters, some are wanting 5,000 words, some want it in double line space, 0.5. It's you're making tons of different samples of your chapters. You're having to tweak a query letter for every single person. It's a long process,
as we covered in our earlier episode.
As we did cover, it always takes longer than you think to do, and takes longer than you think to get response back.
Yes, so, it does.
There, as you say, Marco, there are other ways of getting in front of an agent, and they're not exclusive at all. So I think you can do one while you're waiting to hear back from agents. You can crack on with some of these other ideas that we have. So the first one I want to chat about, which is one I know you've done before, Marco, is an agent one-to-one.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us a little bit what that's about, how that works?
Yes, so I've done a few agent one-to-ones in the past, and they're invaluable because you're actually getting in front of an agent. You're actually, normally with these query letters, like you say, you're emailing something in, or you're filling in a form if they're using Query Manager or whatever. But you're not actually getting that face-to-face time with the agent. You're not actually hearing what they think of it. And that agent one-to-one process, it's the agent in a room. You've sent them, most likely, I think in most agent one-to-ones, you've sent them a sample of the work. Sometimes it'll be the full 3 chapters. Sometimes it'll be maybe only an opening 2,000 words or something like that, with a query letter maybe. And they can give you feedback instantly on that. And some of them, sometimes they'll use it more as a sort of session to say, well, this is what you did well in your query letter, this is what you did badly in your query letter. And it's more sort of a teaching exercise almost about how to query properly. But it doesn't need to be like that. I think you should really endeavour to try and make these sessions what you want them to be. So if you want it to be a pitch meeting, provided that the agent one-to-one instructions have said that that's okay, you should always pay attention to that, then absolutely you've got that time. And often with an agent one-to-one, you've paid for that time. They can vary in price, but they can be from as little as £25 to, I don't know, I've seen some I think that are up towards £100 sometimes. But and often as well, what's good is that some places that offer agent one-to-ones will have a certain number of agent one-to-ones where they keep them aside for people that can't afford that, and they'll try and offer slots if those are available. But I just think if you can get in the room with an agent, you're giving your story the best chance, because you can find out immediately. You can pitch it, and you can find out what worked, what didn't work. Do they like it? You can get a real feel from the agent as to whether they liked it. And you'll know probably in that whatever 10, 15 minutes you've got with them whether you want to ask that scary question, which is, can I send you the rest?
Well, I was going to say, because certainly that is a great point. Agents will, if they like it, ask for the rest of the book, right? Like I, very much as if you just sent in your first opening chapters through the old-fashioned submission query process.
Yeah, it's almost a way of sort of jumping out of the slush pile, if you do it well. So, like I say, not all agents will treat one-to-ones like that. So you've just got to be cautious and got to read about them, because some agents will use it more as, I'm happy to have a chat about what you've given me. I think when you're doing your queries, you should do X, Y, and Z. And they're not really looking to make that offer. But even if they say that, here's my insider tip. Here, even if they say that, if you've given them something that's well written that they like, then they'll want to read more of it. That's why they're doing it. I think that's why they do these things. It's so that they can find those hidden gems that and speed the process up from their end as well.
And surely it's also an easy way for them to see what you're like as a person. Is this someone that I think I will be able to work with? Do they come across as someone who takes the writing seriously, that will, take on criticism or feedback constructively, etc. So I think as you say, it's a great supercharged way to jump right to that potential next conversation of, do you want to see more? Do you think you'll work well together, etc. So it's and the downside, as you say, is cost. Obviously, there's a price involved in it, but yeah, there's always options for people who perhaps can't afford it. And I think it's, if you can get one that's, £25, £30 neck of the woods, if you're in that region, it sounds like money well worth spending.
Honestly, I think I don't want to. It is difficult. It can add up to a lot of money, especially if you want to do 2 or 3 of them maybe over the course of a period of time. But it is. I do think it is valuable, because, like I say, you can use that as an opportunity to skip ahead of a queue essentially and get that manuscript out there. And what you can also do is, if the agent, if you've got queries out in the traditional method, maybe you've not heard anything, you have an agent one-to-one, the agent says, yes, you can send me the rest of the stuff. Boom, there's your nudge to other agents as well. Yeah. They serve multiple purposes, and I highly, highly recommend them. But another method that I have also employed, you'll see that I've tried everything that I can, is competitions. Now, obviously, they come in various forms. There's the sort of competitions to send your full manuscript, and one book will be picked by a publisher or an agent or something like that. There's other ones where you just send in the opening chapters, and maybe you're getting agent one-to-one as a result of that, or something like that. The competitions offer different prizes, obviously, and also with competitions, I would be very selective in what you do, because competitions will normally charge you an entry fee, so it can very quickly add up if you're deciding to enter a lot of competitions. So you want to make sure that they're reputable, which is very easy to do with the internet now. Just have a look around, see past winners, see what people are saying about them, and also just make sure it's right for your story. But also there's the other type of competition which I did, and I think you can do this at various festivals or conferences, sort of pitching competitions, where you prepare a very short pitch and you get to perform it in front of a live studio audience, as they say. But often there's industry people there, publishers, editors, agents, and stuff like that. So even if you don't win that competition, again, you're getting that chance to pitch your story out in front of people, make them interested, and again, you can get approached. That happened to me. I didn't win Pitch Perfect. I got through to the final 10 or whatever it was. Didn't win it, but immediately afterwards, an agent came up to me and was saying, "That sounded really good. Send me the rest of the stuff." So, it's another way. It's another way in.
We just chatted recently to Natalie Jane Clark, who was on the same competition as yourself. Again, didn't win it, but got approached by an agent afterwards. So, and having seen a few of these pitch competitions in person, I think they are a great way, because I think it is more daunting. It's probably the most of all the ways. It's very daunting, obviously, because you're reading on stage in front of people. But I think you get a lot of bang for your buck because there will always be guaranteed agents and publishers in the room, because that's the way of getting a quick snapshot of what else is out there, what other people are writing, etc. And so you're guaranteed to be, even if you don't win, you're guaranteed to be read, to be heard by other agents. So that it's just a fantastic way. There's no downside really, apart from the kind of nervous fear of having to speak on stage.
It's not going to be for everyone, because not everyone will want to do that, which is fine.
Also, and I think, you know, we've chatted about one-to-one pitches, we've chatted about pitch competitions, we've chatted about competitions. Of those three, the two that jump out to me are the one-to-ones and the pitch competitions, because they're in person, and I always think whenever you're entering competitions that are open to anyone on the internet, suddenly the pool is much wider, right? Like it's open to the UK, if not abroad, and you're having to compete against much more people. Whereas when you're doing something that's local, it's a local pitch competition, or it's a local one-to-one with an agent, your pool of potential people that you're up against is much smaller. And that is only a good thing, I suppose, in terms of, you know, who else they might speak to that day, who else might be on that final 8 with you, etc. So all these things are definitely worth doing. Another one.
Just before you go into your next one, I just want to sort of tangent on to the pitch competition one, which is that obviously, as I said, these things often happen at festivals or whatever, and that means that there will be, you know, if you're going to the BarCon, as they call it,
very good point,
there will be agents, there will be editors there and stuff like that. Now, I refer, being a lawyer again, I'll refer you back to what I said in the previous episode, which was, or one of the earlier episodes about I think it was the query. Oh no, it's the networking episode. I think, which was, that's not an opportunity really to, you know, be fully like, here's my 3 chapters, can I send you it now, or something like that. But it is an opportunity to meet an agent, to, you know, just make that connection, maybe give a short pitch. And they might say, "Oh, that sounds interesting. Yeah, give me an email." In which case, you can do that when you get back home. After
it gives you that something you can put in your letter.
Yes,
it was great to meet with you at Bloody Scotland last Saturday. You know, some kind of, you know, everyone's always looking for that like little connection, that little bit of personal,
just to stand out.
You can stand out, exactly, jump ahead of other people, and I think if you chat to an agent or a publisher or whoever editor at a bar for 5-10 minutes even. And you can then say, "Oh, I met you, I spoke to you, blah blah," in your query letter later on. That does give you a bit of an edge, and it is small, but it's something, and it's everything counts. I think when you're trying to get ahead of folk like this.
I agree.
And another way of doing it, I think, is to, and this is going to sound weird at first, but it's knowing other writers, right? It's knowing other authors who have got agents, and then it's using your networking, I guess. Opportunities to talk to their agents directly, to jump the queue. I mean, we've chatted to loads of people who have been friends with authors who have got agents, and then have been able to write directly to that agent because they know some of their clients. And you know, I might be saying to yourself, well, how do I get to know an agent's client? The easiest way of doing it is just to join a writing group. You know, we've chatted before about joining writers groups. They can be online groups on, you know, Discord, Facebook, etc. There's loads of writers groups. It doesn't have to be an in-person one. It can be an online one. But either way, whether you're meeting a writers group in your city, whether you're doing it online, having a group of writers that you become pally with, that you share some writing with, that you feel comfortable enough to be able to say to someone, would you put in a good word with so and so? Would they mind if I wrote to them directly? That happens all the time. People all the time will write directly to agents or people they know.
You know, the one word of caution that I would sound there is that don't go into these writing groups or whatever and 100%. Immediately start be like in the DMs of people saying,
no, that's very much.
I've got something that's very like yours. Can I send it to you? Do you think your agent would be interested or something?
It's more a nice kind of outcome as opposed to the reason that you're doing it, isn't it? That's right.
I think so. Yeah, I think that it has to come from a place of genuine. Bonding with that person before they might, you know, often in that situation you're almost wanting them to make the offer rather than you.
Yes, I think that's
ask
a very
them
good point.
to
I
make
think
the offer.
you want to get so pally with someone enough that they offer to.
But again,
to
don't
introduce
just
you.
do that. Don't be a psychopath and just do that just so that they do that.
No,
Like,
I think join the writing community because you want to share your writing, you want to improve,
Yeah.
and you want to learn a bit more about how other people are dealing with it and what people are going through, to share that kind of, group journey through the writing process. And I think that's the main benefit of joining a writing group, and being able to have conversations about like money and drafting and all that kind of thing, which a lot of people don't understand if they're not involved in it. And so that's the reason to join. The wonderful side kind of outcome that can happen sometimes, the benefit is that if they do get picked up by an agent, or if they're already with an agent, you may be able to get to kind of leverage that to jump the queue and to go directly to them. But as Margaret says, that should never be the sole purpose of joining a writing group. That's definitely the wrong way of going in. And I think people will very quickly realise.
oh yeah,
that's why
you'll
you're
be
there,
they'll know exactly what you're up to,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, you won't be in that writing group for very long because they
No,
won't
and
really be
it's a very
interested in speaking to you.
yeah. So
So
like everything, I think, don't be an arse. Don't be a dick.
Marco's
And
"Don't be a dick" rule.
I think that's a pretty
from
decent,
an earlier
a pretty
episode.
decent rule to not just for writing but for life.
Yes,
Don't be a dick.
indeed. Well, yeah. So those are a few of the other methods that you can use to try and break in, because it is true. We've spoken to guests on the podcast recently and stuff. It's getting harder and harder at the moment to jump out of that slush pile. So I'm a big advocate of any way you can get in front of an agent legitimately. Don't stalk them. And talk about your work, then that's going to be to your advantage, I think.
And I suppose the final thought on it for me is also have a think about whether or not having an agent at all is the correct
That's true.
choice.
Yeah.
Because we've chatted to people who have made a very nice living without an agent, who have gone down the self-pub route, who have just, and it's we've chatted
Or
about
the
before,
indie publishers.
or the
now,
indie
yeah.
publisher, as you say,
It's sort of
there's
small
lots of
press, I mean,
publishers,
by that, yeah.
who accept submissions without people who have agents. So you don't always have to have an agent. It certainly opens some doors, but it doesn't. It's not a prerequisite at all. I think you can definitely self-pub. You can definitely apply to certain places without an agent. So you don't have to have one. And if you are struggling to find one, or if you have been looking for a while, there's nothing to stop you looking at these other options. So it's not always the be and end all. And I think if you do write to a publisher and you do manage to submit to a publisher that does accept unsolicited manuscripts, and they make you an offer, that gives you a whole bunch of ammunition to then go back to an agent and say,
an agent at that point is not, you've done their job for them, essentially.
Yeah.
You're just
All they're
asking
gonna do
them
is-
to come on board,
Yeah,
look at a
perhaps
contract, and they're
get you
going to take a
better
cut of
terms.
it. So
Yeah,
you might not
exactly.
even want an agent at that point. Although
Yeah.
I would say it's normally sensible to. I was
Well, I mean,
joking
I guess the
there.
hope
It
would
is
be that they
normally
would get
sensible to have one.
maybe get a better
Yeah,
deal. That
exactly,
but yeah, it's as you say, they then take 15% of that. So you've got to kind of weigh up that what would they bring versus what you would lose. And yeah. There's different ways of finding an agent, if indeed finding an agent is the correct route for you. For you.
So I hope we've sort of shown that the querying is the query letter is not the only way to break in, and you can hear that from many of our guests on the main podcast
so few
as
go
well.
down that exact same route. They've all got different ways, different methods and stuff. It's definitely worth
Yeah,
listening to all those 200 episodes.
It is, and there will be another new episode out on Friday where you can listen to another
Fantastic.
story as well. So if you've enjoyed this one, you can get these drafting notes episodes in advance, early access on our Patreon. The link is in the podcast description, and there's lots of other benefits on there as well. But otherwise, they will eventually pop out on YouTube and into your favourite podcast app as well. So you can watch us there. So we will speak to you in the next episode.
See you later.